right? And for those of you who have a computer, what I want you to do is I'm gonna teach you a few small things. I want one person to try it out, and then give the mouse to the other person if you're sharing computers. All right. First, we're just going to go into an overview. All right. Unity is complicated and it's powerful, but it's not so complicated that it will, if you understand computers, it's not going to take you that long to move around and start doing some things. Okay. What we're going to do today is we're going to build a tiny solar system. Okay, it's just so you can understand how to move around. All right. But first of all, what I want to do is just tell you what's happening in the game engine. All right. First of all, how many people have a view that looks like this? Does it look like this? Okay, we're going to switch that now. Up in the top right, there's a layout button. And I want you to go to layout and then go to 2x3. Okay? Everybody should switch to 2x3. Did you see that? Top right corner, layout. Click on it and pull down to 2x3. Is everybody on 2x3?
Yes.
Everybody seeing this? Okay. All right. So let's talk about what's happening here. You have different windows. Each window is doing something very specific, and once you understand what it does, it's all going to make sense. All right? In the top is your scene. The scene is where you work in 2D or 3D with all your assets, and this is your working screen. Below it is the game. This is what your game is going to look like. And we're going to talk about why you see what you see in the game. All right? And it's based on cameras. It works just like film. Here's a camera, right? I'm standing here. I'm in front of the camera. If the camera moves, it's going to start seeing all the other people. That's what the game does. And you're going to get a feeling for the camera very quickly. All right? The hierarchy is what's in your game. The elements that are in your game that are actually there in the scene are in the hierarchy. Okay? The project is everything you have that you can use in your game. Okay? You can take things from there and put it into the game. All right? The inspector is where you see all of the information about any given element. Okay? So let's do something really simple. What I want you to do is here in the hierarchy, point at right-click on the hierarchy and pull down to 3D object and click on cube. Okay? You see? Everybody have a cube? You're looking at it like this? Look, we did one thing and look at how everything has changed. All right? So now in our hierarchy, we see we have a cube. Here in the scene view, we see our cube. In the game view, we see our cube through the camera, which I'm going to talk to you about in a minute. And here in the inspector, you see at the top where it says cube, and we have all this information. All right? So now what I want to do is using this very simple thing, I want to talk to you about 2D versus 3D. Who has an idea of the difference between the two?
Working.
Yours isn't working?
No.
It will be like a square, and 3D will be the double of it.
Okay, that's an
Like
interesting
so.
idea. Okay,
2D has length and breadth, 3D has length, breadth and height.
that's right. Okay, so it's the difference between D. The D stands for dimension. So if you look at this sign, it is 2D. It has width and height. Okay, but this chair is 3D. It has width, height, and depth. In 3D, we call these X, Y, and Z. Okay? X is going from left to right. Y is going up and down. And Z is depth. Okay? So let's just, to give you a little bit of a feeling for 3D space, so we're doing a 3D game at the moment. So if you look at 3D space, here I have this cube. All right? In Unity, your main tools for moving things are in the top left. Do you see them? So the hand is for scrolling your scene around. So click on the hand, point at the scene, anywhere at the scene, you can grab anywhere and drag it around. This is to look around your scene. Okay, everybody try it. The next one is for actually moving objects. All right? So with this, if I want to move on the x-axis, I grab the red one, and I can move this back and forth on the x-axis. All right? Trying it? Okay, you can drag on the y. You can drag, this is the y actually, sorry, and this is the z. Okay? You guys trying it? Is everybody trying it? If you grab on the center, it lets you move it in all directions at once. Okay? So now you're in 3D space. You know, your computer screen is your computer screen 2D or is it 3D?
It's 2D.
The screen is 2D, but it simulates a 3D environment. So if as we make this go back further, what happens? It gets smaller. All right? Now, look at that. I all of a sudden brought it. Now, why do you think it's getting bigger on the bottom? It's getting bigger on the bottom because it's getting closer to the camera. Okay, and I'm going to show you about the camera in a minute. All right, so that's the move tool. The next tool in the top left is the rotate tool. Okay, click on the little rotate tool. And now watch. You have this. If you click on the line, the green line, you can spin this. You can spin the cube. You trying it? You can spin it this way. You can spin it this way. Okay, and you can spin it that way. All right, you guys trying it? Okay, how many have any of you previously worked with any 3D software? No? Okay. So one person. So this is your first time playing with 3D. All right? Yeah, everybody's tried rotate? Okay, the last one that we're going to try right now is this one with the 4 arrows. This is scale. So I can take my cube and I can make it long. I can make it short. I can do the height. I can do the width. And if I grab the middle, I can make it all directions at once. You guys are trying it? Okay, everybody's testing it out? So I click on the cube here, and I hit the delete button. It's gone. Okay, everybody delete your cube. The things is inside a program like Unity, there are many different ways to do the same thing. Right? So let's go up to the Game Object menu and go down to 3D Object and go to Cube and create a cube. All right? Everybody has a cube like this again? All right. So the next part that I want you to see is over on the right is the inspector. This is where we see everything about any object. All right? So one of the key things to understand is what you're going to do in games is you're going to create different objects and you're going to add behaviors to tell that object what to do. So like in Candy Crush, you see 3 things in a row. The game is programmed that when you click on that, it creates an animation and it refills the thing. Okay, that's really quite complicated. We're going to just get into the very beginning of it. But this is the idea that here we now have what some stuff about this cube. All right? So let's just take a look at this. All right? At the top, you have the transform. The transform tells you where is that object, how is it rotated, and what is the scale. Okay, so what I want everyone to do you see this little tiny wheel up here on the top right? You see this? Click on that and choose reset. Okay? It's very small. Did you get it? Everybody got it? If you didn't get it, wave your hand like this. Okay, everybody got it. Okay, so let's just play a little bit. So what we were doing with, say, the scale tool, or the or the move tool or the rotate tool, we can do up here with the transform, and we can do it exactly. Okay, so let's say that I want this to be at -10 on the x-axis. So if I put in -10, what happened? It moved along x, away from 0, which is the center of the world, to -10. Okay? All right, put it back to 0. What happens? It comes right back to the center. Okay? I can rotate it. Let's say I want to rotate it by 45 degrees. Okay, is getting the idea? Okay, so let's put the rotation back to 0. All right, I'm going to show you a little bit of a tricky thing that's kind of fun. Look at your mouse. Take your mouse. Let's go to the X scale. And you see when I put my mouse pointer over the X in scale, it becomes an arrow. So what I want you to do is point at X, click and hold the left mouse button down, and then you can move it to the right and start scaling it. Okay? You see how you do it? Pretty cool, huh? All right. So put that back to 0. So oh, I'm sorry, not 0, 1. The scale should be 1. All right, so if everybody looks at the transform, you should have position 0, 0, 0, rotation 0, 0, 0, scale 1, 1, 1. Everybody has it? Okay. Any questions? Any confusion? Okay. So now, the next thing that I want to show you is about the camera and moving around in the scene view. Okay? So what I want you to do, you see this thing, this is our direction chooser. Okay? Watch what happens when I click on the X. If I click on the X, what happens? I'm now looking at it from the X-axis and it's flat. Right? Did you see it?
Yes.
Okay. If I click on the Y, okay, now I'm from the top view. I'm now looking at everything from the top. Okay, so is everybody choose Y to get to, so you have this view where it shows the top?
Yes.
Okay, so now what I want you to do is on the scene view, I want you to point at the scene view and use the scroll wheel and roll it back. So you're zooming out. Everything's getting smaller, right? Okay, you guys able to do that? Were you able to roll out and see like this? So now what you see here, pay attention for just a second. What you're seeing here, here's our cube, and this little tiny thing is our camera. So watch what happens when I click on it. You see how the camera in the hierarchy is now selected? Do you understand? So now what I've done, this is my cube, this is my camera. And you see how the camera is looking at the cube? So watch what happens now. If you take the camera is an object just like the cube. So let's choose the move button. And when I move the camera closer to the cube, what happens? It gets bigger. Okay? So in my game, this is what I would see. Now I'm going to go back to the side. This is the back. Are you guys getting an idea about 3D space? Okay. Yeah or no?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so let's I'm going to show you a few other things for the scene view. So when you're in the scene view, one of the things we just used is we used the scroll wheel to zoom in and out, right? So if you want to look at something, you can scroll in and out, right? One of the most important things is if you click, let's click on the cube, either in the scene view or in the hierarchy. Click on cube, and if you click the F button, it's going to frame the cube. It's going to come straight up. So that object is going to be the center of the view. Did you guys do it? Hit the F button to frame the object. Okay. All right. Any questions? Any problems? All right. Now what I want you to do is in the scene view, I want you to hold down click the right button and start moving it around, and you'll see that I'm now zooming, I'm rotating around the view. You got that? You see how I'm moving it? How are you trying it? Hold the right button down, and you're able to look around the scene. Okay. Do you see how the direction indicator, it moves, right? Everybody look at my direction indicator, and you see how it's rotating? So I'm moving around, I'm looking at the 3D view differently. All right? All right, the one other keyboard shortcut I want you to know, mouse shortcut, is the center mouse button is the pan. If you hold this down, you can now move up and down and pan around your scene. Questions? No? Any confusion? So, we're going to do something very simple. We're going to make a little solar system. And by making a little solar system, I want you to get an idea about what we've just been doing now, how it ends up creating what can end up being a game. All right? So the next thing we need to do is we need to, hopefully we can do this without too much trouble. We need to import the assets. All right? So can you guys all know how to find Windows Explorer? Can you open an Explorer window here? All right, on your desktop should be a Solar Systems Assets folder. Here, you didn't find it? It's not there? Hold on, let me give it to you.
No.
Okay. So, oops. So you can just take it directly from there, and then I'll give it to you guys. You're going to right-click on them, and you're going to say Copy. Okay? Now what we need to do is you need to go into your Documents folder. Go into Documents. Find your solar system. Okay, go into your Assets. Hold on, you're in the wrong one. This one, the one you have open is, so go down. Go up. Go to Documents, sorry. The other solar system, the bottom one. Yeah, that's the one you have open. Assets, and you can paste it in. Okay? Oh, you got it. All right. Good, girls. Okay. Did you find it? On the desktop? Yeah, no, don't do it that way. Go back into Explorer. Yeah. Solar system, copy all goes. Control copy, then go into your documents. All right. Okay. So just a little bit of a note. The assets folder is what you see in the hierarchy. So like you put those things into the assets folder. When you come back to Unity, it's going to have you come back to Unity. I don't know if you guys saw this. It'll say hold on. It's going to import the assets. So all the things that you put into that folder now is going to show up in our project. You guys all seeing this now?
Yes.
Okay, so now in your project, you have scripts, sounds, and textures. So the asset folder that you saw in Explorer is the project folder that you see in Unity. Okay, does everybody have the assets?
No.
So who doesn't? Oh, you do, what do you mean? You just got them in our project that we can use. All right. So we're going to do this very quickly. Can we go a little longer than 12:30? Let's just do some very simple stuff. And basically what I want to do with this is I just want you to understand that in Unity, what you're doing is you're taking an object, you're putting it into your scene, and you're making it do something, all right? And you're making it look some way or making it make some sound or something, okay? So let's do something very simple. In the hierarchy, right-click, 3D object, sphere. Okay? And then what we're going to do is I want this one to be right in the center. So up in the transform, click on the little wheel and reset it. Click reset. All right? And now, very important. Okay, and this applies to any kind of computer work you do. When you're working on a computer and you're creating things that have multiple assets like this, you name them. All right? I work with a lot of artists, and sometimes I get Photoshop files from an artist, and I have 100 layers, and not a single layer has a name. It's a waste of time. Are you listening? You understanding? So let's just talk about a few different ways. So here, in the hierarchy, we have our sphere, right? If I click on the sphere, I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it again, and it highlights it. And I'm going to call this the sun. Okay, rename that object the sun. Okay, tell me everybody has named it the sun. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to right click 3D object and I'm going to create another sphere. Okay. Now, is your sphere underneath the sun? Is it or is it even? If it's underneath, what I want you to do is click on sphere, hold it, just drag it down, and it will become on the same level. All right? But where's our sphere? We can't see it. Where is it?
But it's overlapping each other.
They're in the same place, right? So what we want to do is let's move it. So what I want to move is I want to move this on the x-axis by 10. All right? So now I did it by 10. And I'm going to zoom out. That's actually way too much. Well, not necessarily. Okay. Let's make that x-axis, let's make it 5. Okay? Now I have 2 spheres. Okay? But this one is going to be the Earth. All right? But now instead of labeling it by clicking on it here, up here in the inspector, I can click on it there, and I can call it Earth. Yes? Question?
No.
He's had a question. Oh. Yes, you can ask a question. Tell me. These columns can be changed in size. So if you want to make more room, you can make more room by moving these things around to certain limits. Okay, does everybody have two spheres?
Yes.
Okay. So the thing is, let's click on the sun. Sun's bigger than the Earth, right? So let's scale the sun. Let's make it 3 times the size of the Earth. We know it's much bigger, but let's make it 3 times the size. So I'm going to come to scale. And I'm going to type 3, tab, 3, oops, hold on, 3, tab, 3, tab, 3. Okay? You guys get the sun should be 3 size? Okay. So now we have a sun and we have the Earth. right? So what I'm trying to do here is just give you an idea of how you start changing objects. So now we know how to create objects. We know how to move them, scale them, rotate them. Okay, but now we want to make it do other things. So the first thing we want the sun to do is we want it to look like the sun. All right? To do that, we have to add what's called a material. All right, so let me go back to my presentation so I can just give you some notes. So we've done this. We'll do some more here. Okay. I'm going to jump around. Let's do the materials things first because, all right. So what is a material? Right? I have a phone. Right? So what makes the phone interesting is the textures, the colors, all of these things. So in 3D, what we say is we have a material, and we're going to apply that material to the sphere to make it look a certain way. All right? It's a little bit confusing, but I'm going to go through it fairly quickly, is that a material has what's called a shader, and you'll see this as I apply it, and the shader has what are called textures. All right? So remember those three things. It's going to become clearer. We're going to go back to Unity. All right. So what I'm going to do is you see down here in the inspector on the bottom we have what's called the default material. All right? But what we're going to do is we're going to create a material. And I'm going to show you two ways of creating a material. All right? One way is let's open our texture. Open the texture folder. You see it here on projects? Everybody has it open? Scroll down till we see the sun. The sun map, sorry. All right? And what I'm going to do, if I take the sun map, I'm going to drag it over onto the sphere. And I'm going to let go. All right? Now, you can see that we got a little bit of color. Right? But what's interesting is, look at our assets folder. Does anybody see anything different about our assets folder? What is it?
Materials.
Materials. Suddenly we have a materials folder. So what happened was, when we dragged that over, it created this material. So what I want you to do is open the material folder, click on Sun Map, and now what we're seeing is in the inspector, we're seeing that material. All right? Sorry about that. So these are all of the options for that material. Okay? At the top, you see shader. And if you click on it, you see there are many different kinds of shaders. Okay, you're going to learn a little bit about that in a moment when we're going to do a Skybox. But right now we're on the standard shader. At the top, you have what are called maps. And next to where it says albedo, you have a little box, and that's the texture. So what's that saying is if we go back to the textures folder and we look at the sun map, we see we have a 2D picture, and like I said, this is more complicated than we're going to go into today, but that picture is now wrapped around our sphere. Okay? All right, to make it look a little bit prettier and a little bit easier, I'm going to show you a different way of creating a material, and we're going to do the one for the Earth. Okay, so open up the material folder. On the right side, where you see the sun map, I want you to right-click. I want you to go to Create, and then down here you'll see Material. Okay? You're going to create a material, and we're going to call this one Earth. Okay? Has everybody created a new material called Earth? Any problems? Everybody's done it? Okay. So now what we're going to do, we're doing this in a different way. Here where you see this albedo, if I click on the little box, I'm sorry, the little circle next to the box, it brings up all the textures I have in my project. You guys see that? Click the little circle next to where it says albedo, and you're going to get select textures. And you're going to do is you're going to click on Earth 1K, and then you can close this window. Okay? You guys got it? Any questions? Any problems? You have it? You got a new material? All right. So now what we do, we've created a material with the Earth texture, and I want you to do is take it and drag it over onto the smaller planet. Okay? Everybody put it on the Earth? Okay. Any problem?
Can you repeat the last step again because I was explaining to
Sure. So put your cursor somewhere inside the scene window and hit the F button. When you have to make sure you selected Earth, right? So now look, now we have an Earth that looks like Earth, don't we? Okay, and just to have fun with it, click the rotate button and watch when you rotate it around, you actually see the Earth, right? Okay, you guys got that? So I'm using the center mouse button. So now you're going to get much more of an idea about 3D space. I'm using the center mouse button to pan around. I'm going to scroll out a little bit. Okay, you guys got it? All right. Ready for the next step? Questions? You guys having problems? Okay, you guys are a code. It's a piece of code. What's wrong?
No, nothing.
He was giving answer.
Oh, you get what? And what was the answer? Oh, you were telling me what a script is? Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is to make things happen, we use code, right? But we're covering the very basics of what goes into a game. So you're not going to learn to write any code today. Okay. But we have a few scripts. So open up the scripts folder. Not that it's terribly important, but at the bottom you see this little thing, that little scroll thing. If you go all the way to the left, you'll see the words. Right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you two different ways to apply a script to an object. So the one that we're interested in is the rotate around script. And if I click on it and I drag it over and drop it on the sun, okay, and then if I click on sun, you'll see on the bottom here, suddenly in the inspector, we have the script which says rotate around. Okay, you see that? Now it's asking us, here the script is set up for a target and a speed. Okay, so the target, we want it to rotate around itself. So I probably doesn't need anything, but in speed, go ahead and put in 25 in speed. Okay. Okay, so hold on. Let's deal with one other problem now. We need to move the camera. All right. So what I want you to do is click on this is called a gizmo. Click on the Y, so we're looking at it from the top. Right, and then use the scroll wheel to zoom out. Where is our camera? Hold on. I've lost track of my camera. Oh, there it is. It's in the middle of the scene. So click on camera. Click on the move button up here on the left. All right, and you should be. Here, let me just make it easy for you. Let's on your camera put negative 0.1 here in y, and negative 6.5 in the z. And let's tell me if you get a view that's somewhat like what I'm looking at.
C negative.
Which is called rotate around, which is code, and we've added it to the sun. Okay? So let's click on the sun. Everybody click on the sun. Have you put in a speed of 25?
Yes.
Okay. So now we look at the magic. This is very simple, but now when we click the play button, what happens? We start seeing our sun is rotating. Right? And that's that script. That script is code saying for it to rotate. And since we didn't have a target, its target is itself. So it's rotating around itself. Okay? So what I'm going to do now is, while it's playing, change the 25 to 100. What happens? It starts rotating faster. Question? Is it not working? In play mode. When I turn the play mode off, watch what happens to my speed. It goes back to 25. The changes you make to most objects while you're in play mode do not stay. So it's a good way to put it in play. You can test things, but you have to like make notes or whatever, so you know, oh, I don't want it 25, I want it to be 100. So then when you come out of play mode, then you can change it. So now if I change this to 100, and I go back to play, now it's going to be spinning fast, right? Okay, so those of you who did anything when you were in play mode, you'll have to do it again afterwards, right? Okay, questions? Any questions? All right, so let's look at a little bit more of the magic of the script. All right, so what I want to do, okay, go out of play mode, make sure the play mode is off. Okay. Select the earth. Right? Now I want to show you two other ways of adding a script to an object. You guys okay?
Yeah.
All right. So what I want you to do is, now we're on the earth. At the bottom of the inspector, you have add component. Click add component. And then we have new script. Actually, hold on. If you I don't know what view you guys are seeing. If you scroll down to where it says new script, scroll to the bottom, you're seeing new script, and then give it an, hold on, I'm sorry, that's not right. That's not what I wanted to do. Okay, so in the add component, since we're not adding a new script, which would be an empty script, we're adding a script that exists already. So in the top of the add component, we type rotate, and we see the rotate around script, right? I click on that, and now you have rotate around, right? So that's a second way of adding the script to the object, all right? Now actually, I want two rotate around scripts on Earth, and I'll explain why, but the third way of adding the script is, pay attention, we're going to grab the rotate around script, and I'm just going to drag it here onto Earth instead of onto the object. And now you'll see I have two rotate around scripts, right? Okay, anybody have an idea? Why do I want two?
One should rotate around itself and other revolution.
Around the sun. That's exactly what we're going to do. All right, so I'm going to give my business card to the first person who has the Earth rotating around itself and around the solar system. You understand? Make the Earth rotate itself and around the sun. How do you do it? Let's see. Yell if you fast. Slow it down. Okay, but wait a second. That's revolving around the sun. You haven't completed the task because your Earth isn't rotating itself. So the Earth should be rotating itself and around the sun. Okay? Come on, there's still a chance to win. You got it? Yeah, you're
So,
okay.
So we
That's
got
good.
it.
But now you have to make it also rotate. So, all right. So what I want you to do is put the mouse button here, over here, and click F, so we can just see the Earth. Really, that's right. Okay. Right. It looks like Earth, Sun. Perfect. All right. Slow it down. Get it looking a little more realistic. Very good. You guys got it? Okay, you got it. Right, so yeah, so have one go around the sun and one go around itself. Okay, did you get it? Figure it out? Yours is the best looking. You got the. Oh, everybody has it spinning like at light speed.
No, sun is perfect.
Did you figure it out? Is that Earth? One. All right, so here you have. This means that it's rotating around itself, but you also want one where it's rotating around the sun. All right, so for those of you who didn't figure it out yet, we have our two scripts here. You paying attention? We have our two scripts. We have the rotate around script, rotate around script. One of them, we want the Earth to rotate itself, right? So I'm just going to take this and add a speed of, say, 50. But here, I want it to rotate around the sun. So I want to show you a few different ways of changing things. So in Target, I could either take the sun from the hierarchy, and I can drag it down here, and bam. Okay, now it's there. The other way of doing it would be to click the little circle. It brings up the objects, and I can tell it what I want it to rotate around, right? So now I'm going to make it rotate around the sun by, let's say, 100. All right? So now when I click play, all right, that's way too fast for you to really see. So what I'm going to do is make this 20. Okay, you guys see how mine's doing it?
20.
Okay. All right. Now, originally, we were going to build a small solar system, and I was going to make it so you could, like, email it to yourself and show it to your friends. We're running pretty late, okay? So what I want to do is I want to give you a few more key ideas about a couple of important things in Unity, okay? Is that okay with everybody? Anybody angry?
no.
Oh, good. All right, so go ahead and come out of play mode. All right, so what I want to do is just I want to deal with two small things that are extremely important, okay? And that's lighting and audio, sound, okay? So the thing is we're sitting inside. We have some windows over here. We have some lights at the top. What would happen if we turned off all the lights and we totally covered the windows?
It will become dark.
Okay, and what would you see?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay? It's the same in any type of 3D movie game that you're doing. The lights allow us to see things. So what I want you to look at is when we created our project automatically had a camera. The camera says, this is what I'm seeing, and it had one directional light. So what I want you to do is click on the directional light and go into the scene and click F so you're looking at the light. Right? So that light is pointing in a certain direction. It's giving your light from a certain area. Okay, what I want you to do now is, in the hierarchy, click on the directional light, and I want you to delete it. What happened? The scene went dark, right? We still see something, but it's pretty dark, right? Now what I want you to do is right-click in the hierarchy, go down to lights, okay? And what I want you to do is click area light. Actually, that's maybe too complicated. No, okay. Go ahead and I'm sorry. Don't do an area light. Let's delete the area light. go back to lights, okay, and create a directional light again. Okay? And what I wanted to show you is on the right side in the inspector are all of the everything about this light, right? So I can move the light around. If I rotate it, watch what happens. See my sun? See how it's changing? And that's based on where the light that I'm putting on the scene. Here, I can change the color of the light. Let's say that I wanted my scene to be very yellow. You see that? So I can, and you can have many different lights. When you go into a complicated game, you'll have lights that are blinking, you'll have lights that are directional, you'll have lights that'll be moving. And that sets up how your scene is going to look. Alright, so I'm going to put this back and make it white. Did you guys try that? Did you try changing the color? Everybody try it? Did you see it? Who didn't? Who changed the color of their light? Did you change the color of your light? Okay. All right. So the next thing I want you to try is this intensity. So I put your mouse over the intensity word, click your button, and if you go to the right, it makes the light brighter. If you go to the left, it makes it darker. Okay? So go ahead and click in intensity, put it back to 1. All right, and we're going to try to do 2 quick things in lighting. Okay, one of them is, I want to show you something kind of cool. Click on the sun. On the right, on the bottom, you have the material. It's the very bottom thing where you see sun map. There's a little triangle here. Click on this, and it opens up the material so we can see the shader. Okay? And what we're going to do with the sun, you see this thing where it says emission? See emission? Click on the little box that says emission. And now what we're going to do is we're going to make our sun glow from the inside. So I want to make it a yellow color. So you see this little square here. Click on the square. Okay, I'm going to make it very yellow. So now look, my sun is glowing yellow, right? But I want to make it, does anybody have trouble? You got it, or you're having trouble? Right where it says emission, if we click the little circle next to color, we're going to bring up our textures. Okay, and let's try the Venus map. So click on Venus map, close this window, and now look at our sun. It's glowing and it's got this cool texture to it. So let's look at mine. Okay? You seeing it? Right? So basically what I really am just trying to get you to understand is when you get into, and one thing I should point out, remember in the beginning we were talking about all the people who work on these things? Right? In big games, there are guys or girls who only do lighting. Their whole job is putting the lights in the scene, adjusting them, making them perfect. Okay? How many people watch Disney or Pixar animation? Okay? All right. So those movies, the lighting guys are amongst the most advanced technical guys because the lighting has to be perfect. Do you have a question, or are you just telling me that you watch Disney? Okay. All right. So I'm going to show you one more thing in lighting, and it's what's called a skybox. So you see what we're having here? We have just this kind of boring background. Well, in 3D, you have the ability to create what's called a skybox. So what I'm going to do, let's go back to the materials folder. All right, right-click in the materials, go to Create Material, and we're going to call this Sky, S-K-Y. Okay? All right? Yes? now is just scratching the surface. So what I want you to do here in the inspector, under shader, click on that, and I want you to choose Skybox. And then from Skybox, click six-sided. You guys got it? The top here, shader, Skybox, six-sided. You done it? Okay. And then what we can do is, basically what we're doing is you're creating a box with 6 sides, which can wrap around your scene. It's going to be clear in a moment. So what we need to do is we need to put the 6 pictures in. So one way to put a picture in is click select and click space. All right? The other way would be to open up your textures and take space and drag it into the box. So what I want you to do is get all 6 sides with space. You understand? Okay, who's going to be the first one to have 6-sided space?
Okay, let me do this.
You guys are, they got it. They got it. You're getting it. Getting closer. Hold on.
Just please.
Is that? So you change to our space scene. And this is how you do it. I want you to come up. Is he ready?
Yes.
Everybody has it, right? Somebody doesn't have it? Okay. So what I want you to do is click on Window, call all the way down to Lighting, and go over to Settings. Okay, and then you have the Skybox material. Click on the little circle on the right. Okay, and we should be able to find Sky. If you renamed it Sky, the one person who couldn't rename it, you just find it. So I click on the Sky. It's my new Skybox. I close this. I close this. And look at my scene now.
So,
Yes. Okay, did you get it? So here. So, yes. You have a question? Don't worry about it. We just don't have time. You got it in the game mode, so it's looking good in the game mode, right? Okay. All right. Listen up. Listen up. So now we've looked at 3 different kinds of lighting, right? We've looked at the lights in the scene. We've looked at the light that we put inside the sun, and then we looked at basically the skybox, which is a form of lighting that deals with your whole scene. Okay, any questions about this? All right, we're going to do one last thing because we're actually already over time. What I want you to do is in the hierarchy, make sure not in play mode. Leave play mode. Turn the play mode off. Remember, if you're in play mode and you do anything, you're going to lose your work. So what I want you to do is right-click here and go to Create Empty. Okay? And generally when I create an empty, if I'm using it for, this is going to be for audio, I come up and I reset it so it's right at 0. And I'm going to come up here and I'm going to go to the game object and I'm going to rename it Audio. Okay, so what's an empty? An empty is creating an object that has position, rotation, and scale, but otherwise doesn't exist. Okay? It's a way of adding things to your object, to your game, that don't necessarily, you don't necessarily see them inside the game, right? All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to add component, and I'm going to go to audio, and I'm going to choose audio source. Guys, see that? Add component, audio source. You guys got it? All right. And then here in the audio source, you're going to see the audio clip. So now we're going to tell it what audio do I want to play. So let's look at what are some of the different ways we could add it. We could come to sounds and we could drag it in. or we can click the little button and see it only, when I click the button, it only shows me audio. So I'm going to try Drone Dark and Scary. Right? And now when I click play, don't do yours yet. Now I have audio in the scene. Okay? So basically what I want to show you, and you're going to do this, I mean, we have not even scratched the surface of game development. All right, let me go back to my presentation. We're going to skip this creating a build, but I want you to understand that basically inside the game engine, we're doing all the creation process. When we're finished, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to then create the game that can be played either on a PC, on an Xbox, on an Android phone, and that's what's called creating a build. Okay? Sorry, we were delayed, so we didn't get that far. Okay? But let's, I wanted to talk to you about a few more things. What happened? Okay. So, I'm not going to even make the, here, let's go ahead and make it bigger. So, what are the next steps? Okay, how many of you are interested in game development now? So you had fun on game?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So, like in from the year 2000 to the year 2100, what might be the greatest invention that we come up with? What do you think is the greatest invention right now?
Artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence. What are other what are really great inventions? I mean, the rubber band is a really great invention. Okay, yes.
Virtual reality.
Virtual reality. So I have a theory. I believe at the end of the century, when people look back, the greatest invention is the ability to learn anything from anywhere to anywhere. Right now, you could be in the center of India, in a tiny village, and you could have a mobile phone or a tablet, and you can take a class at MIT, the greatest technical university in the world. Or you could study English with somebody in London, or Japanese with somebody in Tokyo. That is revolutionary. That will change our world. The point that I'm making is you are living in a very exciting time. 10 years ago, if I said, hey, learn game development, you would have to find a teacher. Now, you can go on your phone, on your computer, and wherever, in your school, at home, and you can study anything. All right? So what are your next steps? All right, if you're interested in Unity, you can go on the Unity website. They have fantastic tutorials. Okay? Step by step, teaching you all the basics. You'll get much more depth than what I've talked to you, because they'll go on, you'll have some of them will be an hour-long video that will go into just the interface, right? YouTube, right? If you're going to do Unity, and if you go to YouTube, you can search anything you want to do, and you're going to find a video that's going to help you learn how to do it, all right? Udemy is it's a website where you can buy classes. So if you're really interested, for example, there's a class that I took when I was a beginner called C# programming in Unity. Okay? And now, often in India, you can buy these classes for 600-700 rupees. And that one has 300 different videos, and it takes you step by step. All right? The best way to learn is by doing. You go through the videos and you build something. Okay? So you do hands-on tutorials, you build games. That's how to learn. And then you share them. So if you build a game, let your friends play it. And I want to tell you something really important. It's very common, especially for young people, when you show something to somebody and you say, how do you like my poem? How do you like my song? How do you like my game? And the person says, well, I didn't really like this thing about it. And then what often people say is, like, no, but I wanted it to be like that. All right? Another piece of advice. Keep your mind open. When somebody gives you their criticism, think about it. Think about what you can say, oh, I don't want to do that. That's fine. But take the time to think about it first. Okay? Now, if you're interested in games, my suggestion is that you start simple. So simple is generally 2D is much simpler than 3D. Game engines like Game Maker. Let me show you one more thing. I'm sorry, there's one thing I did want to show you. I showed some of the people who came earlier. So in hold on, wrong place. Where am I? Okay. Oops, we're having this problem. There's a plugin called Playmaker. And Playmaker is what's called a visual scripting language. What that means is that instead of writing code, somebody else has written code, and it's what we call code snippets. So if you want to rotate something, you'll take an action from Playmaker that says rotate, you apply it to the object, and then you can tell it to rotate. But you didn't have to code it, right? So this is an example. So this is something where it's saying, on this character, apply, and this is basically something I'll show you in a second, but it's basically walking you through, and it's saying, do this. If you do this, then maybe do that, or maybe do this, okay? This is what's called a visual scripting language. These are called state machines. And if you download the free version of Game Maker, this is what you'll be doing. You won't have to worry about coding. So you'll be able to say, okay, wait 5 seconds, rotate the character, make the character jump. Or you could say, when they press the space bar, jump. Okay? So I just wanted you to see this because I want you to realize that the best way to start is to do either Playmaker or Game Maker, to use something simple. Okay, start simple, build some games, and then as you get your interest, if you want to code, start coding. Okay? All right. Last two things is I saved it for last. I want to show you what I'm working on. First, I'm going to show you we're creating what's called a virtual world. What my goal is to revolutionize education. Okay? How would you like to study inside a game? Anybody interested in studying inside a game? It sound fun? Only 2 people? Okay, anyways. Check out. This is one of the things that we're building. That's not it. I'll show you that in a second. So what we're doing is we're creating a multiplayer universe. You come, you sign into the galaxy, you get to choose the character you want to be. And then, if you're going to study, you're going to go to different planets. So we want to study algebra. We're going to go to the algebra planet. And now our character will show up. And now I'm running around in 3D. I can talk to other characters. I can chat with them. Okay? But you see here is a video, the origins of algebra. When I meet another character, I have a chat box, so I can chat and send messages to them, asking them, do you want to study with me? You see the chat bubbles? Now what happens is this character right-clicks on this character and says, do you want to study with me? That character gets a message. When they say yes, they're now a group. And you can have a group of up to 4 students. When you come to the video, you click on it. Whoever's in the group shows up in the movie theater. So these 2 guys now have a video And this may be somebody sitting next to you in the classroom. It might be somebody on the other side of the world. So now you're watching a video. You have a chat box. You have a pause button. So whoever is in the group, if anybody clicks pause, click. It pauses the video for everybody. So now, if you know algebra better than your friend, you can become the teacher. You can start teaching and saying. And the way that we have it set up is we have teleporters. So you can go in the teleporter, it takes you to another part of the thing. You can see more advanced things. You'll see the level. Right now everybody's at level 1, but you'll see the level of another student. So if there's a student who's more advanced than you can invite them to help you study, and they'll get points and power-ups. We're going to have different planets that'll have different looks. Alright, you'll be able to go to a Wild West to study geometry. You'll go to a space station. There's going to be mini games. So if you're studying algebra, there will be other games that you can do to learn algebra. And so it's basically going to be different worlds where you can go and study inside a game. Okay. So that's the main project that we're working on. We're also, I told you we're working on this game, Acting Kindly. All right, so this one is called Acting Kindly in School. It's for playing in school. There's also one for playing it out in public, like out in the city. So let me show you just one very small video that we made.
Aliens came and taught me a game to save the planet. Play! Starboard, it's called SCIFFI.
Let's play.
On Earth, it's a change the world card game called Acting Kindly.
Your world
made you. Let's go.
Truth Sleuth. Tell someone something nice.
Excuse me, I just love your dress so much.
And I love the color of your earrings.
Oh, thank you. That made my day.
Wow, you
Carry something for someone.
Excuse me, can you help me carry those?
Double speed. Hurry, hurry, it's time to study. Sing a silly song. Rolling back, it's a gong, this old man came rolling home. Acuna from 108 on fuel. Oh no!
The advantages of acting kindly.
Joy of helping others. Take control. Pay it forward. Stop paranoia. Learn empathy. Be powerful. Safety from experience and education.
Acting kindly can be played at school, in your neighborhood, at events, or out in public. Players from 9 to 99 are gonna love it. Companies can use it for training and non-profits to teach and empower.
The game was wonderful.
It was super fun. You guys should play it.
Love the way the children were interacting.
I would love to play.
The game is fantastic.
I would recommend the game thoroughly.
So this is a game. Like I said, there's a mobile version of Acting Kindly that's for playing out in public, but this version, which will be for schools, we've been testing it in schools in Goa. Soon it'll be printed and we'll be selling it to schools. So hopefully you'll get to play it in your school. And it's a totally cooperative game. When you play this game, at the end of the game, everybody playing wins. Okay. Any questions?
Thanks everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
My name is Pratik Borkar. Today I learned some good stuff via like developing games, making some assets and all.
Okay. What is your name?
My name is Abhishek Talwar.
Okay.
And I learned how to make games and create the characters. And all.
So it was all fun.
Yeah.
You're from which school?
I am from Destro High School.
Okay.
My name is Sujal Roy, and I learned the game which we play, how much of effort is taken to make it. So we had learned making of assets and making of the different game engines that we know.
My name is Sufyan Patwekar, and I had learned many new things to how to develop a game and to create new game engines and from mobiles and PC.
My name is Varis. I am from Destero School. We learned today about how to use Unity engine. We started to make a solar system by using it, and
Good.
My name is Mank Sharma. I'm from School of Kendriya Vidyalaya NS Mandovi. What I today learned is like a simple game is not a simple at all. It requires thousands of people's help, and it requires what we see is like, okay, it's a good game, but we don't see the efforts behind it. The software we used today was Unity 3D 2017.3, and I was very happy to know that Sir Greg has come to teach us. And thank you, Sir Greg, to remove some time from your busy schedule. Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you.
Know how to play games on PC, on laptops, on PlayStations, but actually we don't know how much pain is taken for developing a game. So here we have an important personality who is actually developing games, and he is CEO of Planet Earthlings, Greg Acuna. So let's know from him what are the challenges faced by him for developing games.
So game development is much more complicated than most people realize. It takes, for large games, for a game for the PlayStation, there may be hundreds of people, and there may be over $100 million spent to build that game. Games are fun to build because they incorporate many different types of both entertainment and technology. It's really the coming together of a lot of different worlds. So underneath it, a lot of people know that game development is programming.
Right.
So we're using the game engine Unity 3D, which is we're programming in C#, or sometimes we're using for rapid prototyping a visual scripting language, which is based on Playmaker. But besides the core development part, within game development, you have character development, you have animation, you have storytelling, you have special effects, you have all forms of different types of art, from creating the props to creating the backgrounds, to creating the environments that are there. And even within the programming, you have lots of specialities that are doing different things. So it's highly complicated, and yet the tools have become so powerful that if somebody wants to develop a game by themselves, they can. So they would have to either be multi-talented, or they can use different assets. They can get either free or for very low cost off of the internet. The story can be, there are games with very, very intense stories. Now, the exciting part about game development, especially from a writer's standpoint, is the script can have places where the story branches and the player gets to decide where the story goes. So that's really different. So far in filmmaking, we have a linear type of storytelling. Even though the story may jump around, you go and you see the beginning of the film through the middle to the end. Whereas in game development, you can create stories that change based on the actions of the players. The development world has changed tremendously over the last 10 years. Now there are amazing tools. Many of them are free or inexpensive, or they're free and you don't pay until you're making money. And that's changed what the challenges are. The other thing that's really changed is within the game, you use many different types of assets. You have characters, you have objects, you have environments, you have audio in terms of special effects and music. You have all these different things. And now, because of the internet, there are people who are making really tremendous game assets that you can get. Some of them are free. Some of them are licensed where they're free, but you have to give credit. And some of them you have to pay for. But often you can find things very reasonably priced to create games. So a lot of the challenges of the past are gone. Beyond that, I mean, it's not easy. You can, there are people who are, say, designers who are using things like Game Maker, Game Engine, which is totally a visual scripting language, or Playmaker for Unity 3D, so you don't have to learn to code. So that's possible. But to do higher end games, then you need to have, the technical people. So you either have to learn C# for Unity, C++ for Unreal, in order to overcome those things. In terms of requirements, the key to building games today are game engines. So as I've said a few times already, we use Unity 3D. It's amazing in terms of its power. Beyond that, Unity has an asset store that allows you to get assets for your game from directly inside the game engine. You get tens of thousands of things that are free and many things that are amazingly well done that are inexpensive. Beyond that, you have Unreal for making AAA games also. Then you have things like Game Maker for doing 2D games. There's Game Salad, there's CryEngine. There's a variety, there's many, many engines. They have advantages and disadvantages to each of them. Beyond that, again, it depends on what skills you have. The best thing is to put together a small team of different skilled people. So you may have a programmer friend with an artist friend and maybe a business person or a game designer in there. But you probably need a small team. There are some people that are multi-talented that are making games on their own.
It's just like learning technology with fun, right? And what are the prospects of this with regard to the students? And I would like to ask you what advice you would like to give to our Goan students.
Yes. Sir.
So yeah, I mean, game development, I believe, is like the most fun you can have in technology. There's just so many parts of the entertainment business with high tech that you can really have a good time and you can make things that are truly amazing. In terms of prospects, there's one interesting fact that a lot of people don't know. Several years ago, the game industry is now surpassing the movie industry in terms of global income. So it's a massive industry. But beyond that, the things that you can create using game technology is totally changing. So now you have augmented reality, you have virtual reality where you're seeing things in goggles, being able to look around. You have people who are doing everything from presentations to demonstrations. There's just so many different, and then games themselves, you have everything from tiny little games on mobile phones to games that cost $200 million for PlayStation, Xbox, that type of thing. So there's just a wide variety of things that can be done when you learn game technology. Now, in terms of advice to young people, I encourage them to check out game development. Game development goes across many different types of industries. So you have the creative side, you have animators, you have character designers, you have artists doing all the different types of art. Then you have people that are doing the programming, you have special effects, you have so many different things. And then you have the business side, the marketing, all these different things. So the game industry really has a wide range of opportunities. My suggestion is, one of the things that's really, I think, is going to change in Indian education is that there's going to become more and more hands-on learning. And that's what I tell people. If you're interested in the game industry, get a game engine, go on YouTube, take some tutorials, build some games. And then what's going to happen is you'll learn. Do you want to be a programmer? Do you want to be an artist? Do you want to be a designer? Then you can learn what all those things are. But the best thing is just build as many games as you can. It'll teach you so much.
We came to know many things from you with regard to the gaming industry. So now I would like to ask you, what is the status of gaming industry in India?
Sir.
So it's a very good question, and I would say that gaming in the gaming industry in India is the same as gaming in India. It's a fairly new industry. If I've been playing games for 35 years. There are many game developers in the U.S. who grew up, from very young ages playing games. So we don't have that much penetration yet in India of young gamers. But it's taking off. It's an amazing opportunity for gaming in India because it's small. The market is big. Because it hasn't been explored, there are many different types of games and storylines and characters from Indian mythology through modern stories that are available. A few months ago, I was speaking at the biggest game development conference of the year, is the NASCOM Game Developers Conference, and it's tremendously exciting because the conference itself has been growing, like I think by 100% a year. It's like really growing. There's so many people interested in it. I think that the future is really bright. The biggest games have always come out of the U.S. or Europe, but there's just so much that's going to happen over the next decade here in India. And there's lots of things for young people to get involved in. There are groups on Facebook, on LinkedIn, there are competitions, there are so many different ways to learn, from websites like Udemy to Coursera to just YouTube. There's so many things, and I think there's a lot of opportunity. The last point I want to make, and I'm going to talk directly to parents out there, is that I really don't feel parents should be afraid of games. We think so much of them as time pass, but in fact, even the simplest games kids are learning. There are skills like just operating the mobile phone, playing a game, that are actually in many ways more important than some of the things we're studying in schools.
Yeah, right.
Because they're skills that they're going to use in the future. There are people who, think that, engineering or lawyering, being a lawyer is so important, but they don't realize that those occupations are going to disappear with artificial intelligence over the next 2 decades. Okay, so gaming, it can be violent, it can be, but there's a lot of things. Even some of the big violent games, there's a sense of community that people are learning from that. But they're learning a lot of different things. And I think the thing is to not be afraid, to be more of an influence for games that we feel are more positive. Like what I'm working on is more how to make gaming positive and helpful. So I think the situation, I'm very excited to be here. It's a great place to be. So one of the big questions always comes up is like, how are games bad for people? And so most of the games I don't actually feel like, even playing, I'm not a big fan of violent games, but I don't feel like violent games make people violent. But you do have things like the blue whale, which is like this shocking phenomenon. And I'm often tagged because what I'm doing is a kindness game, and it's exactly the opposite. It's like the cure for blue whale. For me, I mean, to some extent, it's hard to even understand that anybody would do something so horrific as creating a game like that. I think that as parents, our main goal is to teach our children to be responsible for themselves, to be thoughtful, to not be misguided, and I don't think hiding them from games helps. We need to be there, we need to, play games with them, see what they're playing, talk to them, be open. But I think that one of the things that comes out of these bad things is the evidence that games are powerful. I'm a writer by profession. I love books, but books are just about the worst way to learn anything. Okay, we now know the power of video and animation, but I believe the future of education is gaming. You can learn when your mind is open and you're having fun. What you learn goes in, it stays in, it becomes helpful. You can remember it and you can use it. And games are amazingly powerful.
So you rightly said that gaming is our future. So we have also seen that even mathematics can be taught like a game. You have come all the way from USA to India and especially to Goa. We would like to know your journey from USA to Goa. And we would like to know with regard to you also.
Sir.
So yeah, there's so much in the future that games are going to do. There are stories that we haven't imagined. The ability to make things that are interactive. We've started seeing some incredible things, but I think that as the technology advances and as it becomes more people are able to make games, we're going to see new, different, exciting explorations of our humanity. So I'm from Los Angeles. I've been living in Goa now for over 16 years. I did go away to Ahmedabad for about a year to work on this project. I came here, I was working on my first novel, so I wanted to sit by the beach somewhere, and I came to Goa, and I fell in love with it. It's just an amazing place. And I've done one other project. We had a failed project where we tried to do a animation live-action TV series, which we produced the pilot episode. Unfortunately, we finished it in 2008, and then the world economy melted down. And my current project, which is called Planet Earthlings, is about creating gaming experiences which are cooperative, collaborative, and empowering. I believe that we can use games to change the world positively. And so the first thing that we made, I don't know if you can see it, we made a game called Acting Kindly. So this is an actual printed card game. There's also a mobile version. This is a new version, which is Acting Kindly at School. The game is really to create experiences so that young people can understand the joy of kindness and helping others, and to create a better learning environment inside schools. Beyond that, we're creating something called Zarble, which is an educational virtual world, and the idea is to create a 3D universe where young people, maybe even adults later, can go inside a game and can learn together through cooperation and collaboration. And my dream is that this kind of platform will break down the barriers between people, so people can make friends based on learning and building things together that will break down the boundaries of country, religion, anything, so that as the world goes on, it's a more peaceful and playful place.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.